Okay. Welcome to the very first Daily Dose of Torah. We are so excited to be talking with our good friend David Helfand. For those of you who might be newer Har Shalom members or for some inexplicable reason didn't have the opportunity to interact with David Helfand when he was our very charismatic and dedicated Director of Youth Engagement at Har Shalom a few years ago. I'm so happy to reintroduce him. David now is a rabbinical student at the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies in Jerusalem. It's really in Los Angeles, but he's studying in Jerusalem right now
at
the conservative yeshiva. David, it's great to see you. You look really well.
Thank you.
Before we dive into the Parsha, just give us a sense of like what's going on in Israel right now with all of the Corona precautions and limitations. How's life there?
It's hard to imagine, given how beautiful of a day it was outside today, sun shining, birds chirping, people just moving along the way on the streets, that the state is really fully in shutdown. There's no schools. Most government buildings are closed. People are working from home. Hardly transportation moving outside the cities, but it's hard to imagine. People are staying home and are told to really limit the amount of time that they're both in groups of people, but also that they're spending outside to really do the social distancing inside the house and to really just take as much precaution as possible. But still able to get outside for a couple of minutes for a walk. But as far as daily activities outside, we're really limited to really just being inside and to working here from home or taking classes online, so on and so forth. But it's hard given how beautiful of a day it was outside.
So the yeshiva is closed. You're not going to the CY for classes.
The yeshiva's closed. Universities are closed. All the preschools, elementary, middle, high schools, even all the universities are closed. The army is even affected, and they're not letting people have days off and Shabbatot off in the army either. So it's pretty shut down, and it's unclear as to how long it'll officially last for.
I just saw this incredible video that was going around. It's one of these only in Israel, experiences where on one rooftop in Jerusalem there was a bride and groom getting married under a chuppah, and on the neighboring building rooftop was a band playing simcha music for the bride and groom, and even further on was another group who were dancing around, and it's like one of those ways that people are making it work.
Yeah, I saw just on the news yesterday there was a wedding that took place in a grocery store because they're limiting the number of people that can be together in a group. Earlier last week it was no more than 100 people. Now it's no more than 10 people. So they went to the grocery store where you can't really limit the number of people who are coming in, and people were celebrating the lovely couple at the grocery store itself. It was quite a sight to see in the news. But it's definitely. People were finding glimpses and glimmers of hope and of joy during such a difficult time.
This is definitely one of those times that, challenge us to dig deeply into our reservoirs and our creativity, and that leads really into Parashat Vayakel, which of course, as you know, shares the same kind of root with the word kehillah, which means community, and how we create community under these circumstances, creates some strains, creates some challenges. I'm wondering what your thoughts are about feeling community and developing ties with community, even when we're, in our own spaces and not occupying the same places where we usually find community.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm drawing myself to kind of my own personal inner community of myself, taking time to think about what do I need from myself when I'm not able to get to the synagogue or to the yeshiva to pray with a minyan. I pray by myself, and I'm able to think about what my community needs. So that's like the inner community piece. And I'd say that it's created a sense of love and support even from far off places. The amount of messages and calls and emails that I've received over the past few days, and I imagine that going forward over the next few days, it's so heartwarming to know that people are thinking about people all over the world, no matter how near and how far and how connected or unconnected they are. And that is community within itself. I mean, just here within my apartment, we're able to learn because our classes can't happen outside in the yeshiva, in the classroom. We're having virtual batei midrash, virtual houses of learning in our apartments. And I'm learning with my roommates and friends digitally. And that's creating community also. And for me, during this really challenging time, I'm reminded of a verse from the book of Proverbs that says that if somebody has anxiety going through their mind, that they should quash it. They should really just smash it and turn that into joy, into gladness. And the Talmud actually says that you could read this one of two ways. You can either read it that says that we should forcefully push it away, and so that it kind of just drowns out, or that we could share that anxiety and share what we need with other people, and that will help lower the anxiety. And by people reaching out to one another and supporting them from afar, we're creating more community. And like you said, Vayakel is all about community at the very beginning, and I think it leads right into one of the very first things that the Torah reading actually speaks about, and that is the idea of Shabbat, which is the iconic and quintessential idea of what Jewish community is. People gathering together, whether it's to eat, to pray, to sing, to schmooze, things that we all do so well and with so much pride and joy. You know, we're able to do it now, but just in a little bit different, more minimize, more intimate settings.
On Shabbat, I talked about how I really don't like the term social distancing. Yeah. I think it's totally antithetical to Judaism. And I encourage people to think about physical distancing without social distancing, right? That there are ways that we can stay connected, stay in touch, remind people that we love them, that we care about them, that even though we're not occupying the same spaces that we routinely do, that there are other ways. Look, we're talking over thousands of miles and seeing each other's Shena Punims and able to interact in a very meaningful way. Maybe this is a time to be creative about, you know, how we maintain those connections beyond physical space.
Just yesterday, I was able to FaceTime with my niece and nephews who live in San Francisco. And if for those of you who don't know, Beth Hawk, her sister, happens to be my sister-in-law. And just like Beth, my sister-in-law Jenny is very regimented and very schedule-oriented. And she made a very strict schedule for the kids to stay on for the next couple of days. And I was able to FaceTime with them, and we did tefillah together. We were able to pray Modeh Ani and Shema Yisrael, and we were able to just have that time together for 25, 30 minutes that they could have just been praying by themselves, but instead they got on the camera and they were FaceTiming and praying with me, them doing morning shacharit, me kind of inching my way into doing the evening prayers for Mariv, and it was just so special. And it was like, that is what one of the blessings of the social distancing or the physical distancing can allow for, is that we can still be together through camera. You and I are talking, you're in Potomac and you're screened in porch, it looks like. I'm sitting in Jerusalem in Rehavia, just 2 feet from the prime minister's house. These things can happen and they bring people together. And it's actually, there's a lot of blessing to all the cursing, and there's a lot of blessing to all the madness. And I think that we need to remember that at times. That
reminds me of that idea that we are mevarech, we bless even bad occasions, right? Even negative circumstances, because there are even, you know, positive outcomes, even in things that seem so negative. I'm wondering, you know, Mia and I got to visit you in your beautiful apartment in Rehavia a few weeks ago and have a lovely Sudah Shlishit together. I know you live with some other rabbinical students and other people who are asuk b'divrei Torah or Torah, you know, immersed. I'm wondering, are you guys learning together? Are you singing? Are you what's going on in your apartment?
We're disinfecting and cleaning a lot together. We are we're learning. I just did a chavruta with one of my classmates for our Midrash class with Rabbi Shoshana Cohen, who visited the Har Shalom just last year. We're playing some games together. We are taking the opportunity to stay well together. I think that's the biggest thing. Encouraging hand washing and mouth covering and healthy habits and lifestyle. Getting out, going for quick walks around the block. So that's creating both collegiality amongst, you know, rabbinical students, because I do live with 2 other rabbinical students, but it also creates a mini Beit Midrash within the larger sense of the world. You know, we have today, I had 2 classes on Zoom where we were learning Talmud together in Chavruta settings, down the street and around the curb, and we were learning Midrash just now together. And so we're able to create these communities, despite the boundaries that and the limitations that have been imposed upon us. So that creates community also. I think that there are so many ways to create the community. It just takes a little creativity at times, a little thinking outside the box and seeking that discomfort to step out of what we're used to, what the norm might be.
Have you discovered any new hobbies?
I dabble just for a drop, not a lot, but a drop in baking, and it's not good. I don't have the patience for it. I'm hopefully, with sitting inside and being limited to that, and kind of trying to create new routines, that the baking thing or some of the other things that I would like to do, the reading, the poetry, the writing that I would like to do, hopefully those things will come, will show themselves in the coming days and perhaps even weeks, depending on how long we're doing this for.
So one more thought to contemplate with you, David. You know, as you mentioned earlier, the idea of Shabbat is reiterated again at the beginning of our parsha. In this case, with respect to the building of the Mishkan, and even something as important and holy and sacred as building God's house, as it were, has to kind of come to a halt for 24 hours. And the way that we Jews kind of mark time is often bein kodesh lachol, as we say in Havdalah, between times that are uniquely holy and times that are sort of regular and mundane. But now everything's kind of flipped on its head, right? We're not in our offices, we're not in school, we're spending a lot of time at home. Even our errands and routines are kind of upended. Like when we're trying to kind of create kodesh and chol, when everything is all mixed up, you know, how do we find that Shabbos, you know, and also find a space to work and to be creative, and everything is jumbled together?
I think it comes down to routine. I think it comes down to the self-discipline to say, I need to do this and I need to do that, but I can also take a break and I can pause for a moment. And during the hustle and bustle of the creation of the Mishkan, there was time to rest. Just like in the time of creation, God worked for 6 days and then rested. And we can do that too. And we can bring that rest from Shabbat, the Kodesh, into our chol. And we can bring a little of the chol of the, I'm going to walk around, I'm going to be a little more active because I've been sitting inside all day for the past number of days. Then on Shabbat, I'm going to take that extra 5-10 minutes and do a little bit longer of a walk. You know, it's creating the community that supports you and bring them into both the Kodesh and the whole. You know, doing something special before Shabbat. I think you're going to be making some challah later in the week. It's from what you told me. So
Yes, indeed.
Let's bring challah over Skype. Let's learn a little Torah over Skype. That's both Kodesh and whole together, right? And that just increases the idea of community and the importance of both having a little bit of those two things together and how they interplay together. And just, you know, being supportive and being there for one another. And that those are the most important things right now. Is don't forget about the people who you can't give the hug to. Give them that virtual love, right? Give them that virtual support that you can't give to them physically. The physical distancing more so than the social distancing, right?
I love what you said also about creating an agenda or a structure, a la Beth Ak or your sister-in-law Jenny. And, you know, it brings us back to those words, Sheshet Yamim Ta'aseh Melacha, right? We need to do certain things throughout the week that are creative and that bring out our labor and our work. And maybe as we're kind of sitting at home, we should remember that, you know, there can be structure there too. And that can lead us into the distinction of Shabbat, which is, you know, a very different kind of structure.
Yeah, that was what the chief architect of the Mishkan, Bezalel, did. Is he was creative. He took pieces from things that why would we need these to make anything, and he made it, right? And the creativity, the flexibility, the authenticity, just the pure individuality that one can put into what they do. It's crucial.
Yeah, it's great. Well, David, thank you so much for sharing this time with us. I know it's quite a bit later there, and we appreciate you logging on after a whole day of learning. We want to bless you to stay well and healthy and to have a lot of stamina. And as David mentioned, a little bit later this week, we'll be making challah with Molly Beth Brushfield. That'll be you can kind of braid along with us and follow along with us and make challah for Shabbat. Also, tomorrow we'll be back with another daily dose of Torah. Tomorrow, I'll be having a conversation with Rabbi Irv Elson. So, David, thank you for leading us off in this series of bringing Har Shalom into the homes of our community.
Thank
And
you.
like I said, again, you know that this is one of your homes where you are very much a beloved member. And again, we wish you good health and strength in the days to come.
And to you and the rest of Har Shalom.
Thank you, David. Take
Take
care.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.